So for people who are watching this, I am sitting here with my beloved high school history teacher, John Mark Krenkel.
Just John Mark will do. Just John Mark.
John Mark. How long did you teach total?
35 years. And I loved it. I loved it every step of the way.
Yeah. I'm so grateful that you joined me today because we're going to talk about my run for Congress.
And I'm so proud you're running. I can't honestly say I saw you running for Congress 25 years ago.
No.
You were in some very aggressive, challenging classes. And for all kinds of reasons, it was a struggle for you. I mean, it was AP European, AP World, AP US, all those things. And you worked really, really hard to, I'm going to say, get by.
Yeah, I worked really hard not to fail.
I said that nicely.
Yeah, I know.
But you didn't just get by. You succeeded. You did well in the classes. You did well in the national test. And I've always respected that from you, that you were able to pull that off. And I knew at the time you had personal struggles that you had to overcome.
It was hard growing up in my family. It was tough.
Knowing how much she had to fight, both outside forces and internal forces to be successful, to go on and get multiple college degrees at multiple schools, and knowing and being in awe of that all along. I mean, how did you pull that off?
No, I think about that often, about like how I barely, I mean, I didn't feel like I was going to make it out of high school. I really struggle. I mean, I know my grades were decent, but it's not like I was, here I am at this amazing high school with all these amazingly brilliant people. And I'm just sitting here going, oh my God, I don't know if I can do this. And I think often about the curvy road I took to even get to college. Like I dropped out of University of Alaska Fairbanks, didn't know if I wanted to go back. And then, my aunt talked me into going to the U. And I didn't even know what I wanted to do. Like, I changed my major. I remember one of the best pieces of advice you ever gave us, and I also thought you were full of it, was you will change your major multiple times before you land on where you're going.
Can I tell you how
I didn't believe you.
Can I tell you how he said that?
Yeah.
If you don't know what you're doing when you leave for college, you're one step ahead of those who know what they're doing. Because those who know what they're doing, we're going to have to drop it and start over. And you're one step ahead of them.
Yay! I was ahead of the curve.
I said that so many times. I did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it just, I think part of it is just my stubborn insistence on carrying on without having any idea where I'm going that got me those degrees.
Were you surprised to hear that Missy was running for Congress?
It's one of those things where if I was surprised, it's like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Now she is.
Yeah.
And she'll be great. She'll do a good job. She'll do a good job because she knows how to fight. She's, to a large extent, gotten past the internal struggles. Now you can put all your focus on fighting the good fight for the good things we need, and not backing down to anybody.
Yeah.
Okay. So it wasn't a surprise so much, because I got right past that to the recognition that this person will do a great job. She will fight battles I want her to fight.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I love about that too is that I learned so much in high school, and I often say how lucky we were to be one of the last classes in a small school. Because there were only 120 of us that graduated, and then the town just kind of blew up after that. And I think a lot about what we learned in school and how much you taught me in history, even though, I felt like I was constantly struggling for everything I got in your classes, but you taught me how to think analytically and how to read a lot and how to, we all learn how to learn.
Yeah.
And that's also what I'm bringing to the campaign is I'm constantly surprised at how amazing this process is. I'm like, is this what it feels like to run for Congress? But a lot of it is that I'm learning so much about our communities and the people who live in our communities and what people are struggling with. I'm actually wondering if you could talk a little bit more about my fight and why you think right now at this moment in time, it's critical for me to be in Congress.
We are all struggling with this hopefully not permanent transformation of our political culture. But at this moment in history, we got to stand up. I used to say this in class. If you think it can't happen here, we're one step closer to being there.
I remember you saying that in class.
That's the answer to your question.
I think you're right, though, because that's why I'm running. I could bring a strongly worded letter to a gunfight, but what we really need is champions and people who are really going to push up against what's happening at the administrative level.
Yes.
Like at the executive level, we have a problem.
And the legislative level.
And the legislative level. And we have to understand the system well enough to understand how it can be pushed. And we're not pushing those levers right now.
I could talk for another hour or 5 about why we have to do that, why we have to fight those battles now. Because that was the question, why now?
Yeah.
Well, it's becoming more and more obvious every day that it has to be now.
Yeah.
We have to do it now.
Yeah.
Melissa represents a departure from a traditional candidate, as we've known. Her family hasn't had a ton of power, and she wasn't, following a great line of political dynasties. What we've heard throughout this campaign is that folks want something different from the candidates or from our elected officials. What is it about her and her differences that is her strengths?
Well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of pieces of that question.
Yeah.
I think in addition to her internal fight, there was also the fight to be a lower middle class person. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if that's exactly correct.
That makes sense.
It's not that Park City students necessarily were too aggressive towards the people who were not as wealthy as they were. Mm-hmm. You may have faced some of that.
I did.
I have other very good student friends, many of my best, who had to overcome that too. So I can see that.
Yeah.
So she's been fighting against the establishment, or fighting to survive within the establishment back then. Mm-hmm. Not within, but fighting to survive with the establishment suffocating her.
Yeah.
Okay. Back then, and so I think that particular part of it holds up here too. You know how to do that. You know that the only way to survive fascism is to not give in to it. Not only not give in to it, but do something concrete, something to make you feel like you're not a victim. Mm-hmm. I think that's what I would see from that background. That would be especially powerful in this situation. And people like myself, who, even though I was a nerd, I had good nerd friends, and we were not ostracized by our high school back in the 60s, which was good fortune. But in your case, you were essentially ostracized by that group. You were always an outsider. And what you learned was, if the only way to win in that context is to not be a victim, to do the anti-victim thing. Mm-hmm. I will turn the tables on you. I will make you be on the defensive.
And I think that is why I'm so good at building community. Mm-hmm. And fighting mm-hmm. for other people. What's really striking to me right now, though, is I didn't think other people could see it. Mm. And so that's really powerful to hear you reflect that back to me, because
I knew that back then.
I do know that it's why I've been so successful throughout my life, is because I don't ever want anybody to feel the way I felt. And I do my damnedest to make sure that people are included in conversations where they are excluded from the mainstream.
I knew it would be a struggle for you. Mm-hmm. And it impresses me no end that you got to hear, that you got running for Congress, that you got to, I mean, frankly, I'm more impressed you got the PhD at USC. As I'm an educator.
Yeah, I know you are.
Because in my opinion, I wasn't there for all those struggles you had to go through to get there, but that had to take more courage and gumption than running for Congress.
You know, I'm really glad you brought that up because it sure did. In fact, when I applied, so I didn't look at any other schools. I just knew I wanted to go to USC and get my PhD in social work because my grandpa had gone there for a year. He ended up finishing his master's in social work at the University of Utah, but he had done some classwork at USC as part of the GI Bill back in the day. And I don't know why I was so determined about USC, but when I went, only 7 people get into that.
Really?
Only 7 people got into our cohort, and we had, there were I think there were over 100 applicants, if I'm remembering correctly. But I walk in to hand in my application at SC, carrying my sleeping baby, wearing his Batman costume.
Yeah.
And the woman who was accepting the applications rolled her eyes at me. And I thought, oh, they don't think I can do this. And so no one was more surprised than me when I got in. And I thought, Sean was little. He was 2. And, Gwenny was 5 and Katie was like 11 or something, 10 or 11 when I got in. And so I had no idea what it was going to take to get that PhD. And every step of the way, I got told reproductive health has nothing to do with social work. And I wanted to research reproductive health and how women access.
Nothing to do with social work.
Contraceptive, nothing to do with social work. John Mark, nothing. And so every step of the way.
I can't wrap my head around that at all.
Every step of the way, I was pushed that I couldn't do this. And you're right. In some ways, running for Congress is a lot less tangled up than me getting my PhD. But it's why I'm so proud of getting that PhD, because I remember standing on the corner of the sidewalk of Park City High School, smoking a cigarette with my friends and thinking, I am never going to make it out of here. I am never going to do anything with my life. I'm going to be stuck here forever.
I didn't think that.
Well, thanks. I did.
All I didn't see you smoking a damn cigarette. I might have had second thoughts at that point.
Oh, you might have.
There's some stupidness there.
There was a lot of stupidness.
I'm going to go somewhere else now.
Okay.
I was the first advisor for the Gay Straight Alliance, and were you? It's called Gay Straight Alliance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Were you?
That didn't exist when I was in high school.
It did not exist when you were in high school.
No. And that was hard.
Yeah, I believe
it was really hard.
That was where my question was going. So at some point did you become active in many of my former students did become active in gay liberation kinds of activities.
Yeah, and so one of the things that I did, I didn't come out until 1999. So I had already had my first marriage, left my first marriage, came out in 1999 and got involved with the Utah Pride Center in Salt Lake. And I was on their board. But one of the things I did when my grandparents died and I got a little bit of money, my sister and I started a food pantry for homeless LGBTQ kids in Salt Lake under my grandparents' name, the Grant and Mary Valentine Food Pantry. Camille and I did that.
Yeah.
But then the other thing I did is I started giving, I remember, the community scholarships at Park City High School?
Yes.
I gave a community scholarship to an LGBTQ student the whole time I was working for Planned Parenthood. Because I did not want them to struggle the way I struggled in high school.
Oh, cool.
Having degrees and education is not a prerequisite to work in Congress and to be a congressperson. For you as a voter and a former history teacher, do you want your elected officials to have a background in some type of education?
I certainly like a person who can put together a really good program.
Sure.
But it's pretty important that you get up. When you get up and do your stump speech, you don't spend half an hour laying out your program and don't get around to swearing at people.
I've actually had to fight against both of those things. So it's been really interesting as I've been talking to voters. Mm-hmm. They're like, well, I want to know your plan for this. And I say, I don't have a plan for that. I'm like, if you elect me, I don't even walk in the doors until 2027. And I don't know if you've noticed what's happened since January. but everything will be different by the time I get into Congress in 2027. So I have some ideas. Of course I have ideas. I have all sorts of ideas for policy and for programs, but I don't know what the world's going to look like by the time I get in that door.
One thing that I think you zeroed in on a little bit that we've been talking about a lot is having folks in elected office with lived experience. That the policy that they're advocating for is not just merely a thought exercise. That the programs that they are supporting and voting on, they have experience with, instead of folks that have never been on Medicaid, don't know what it means to lose Medicaid or SNAP benefits, etc.
Excellent.
But we do.
Excellent point. You don't want somebody standing up there telling you a bunch of words about how it's going to happen.
No. And I think one of the things I really learned from you, like learning specifically about U.S. history, is this idea that Congress is of the people, by the people, and for the people. It's not of the corporation, by the corporation, for the corporation. It's not like, our family has been on food stamps. Our family has been on Medicaid. I panic every month that Jim's VA disability check isn't going to come through and we're not going to be able to pay him.
One of the things I will do immediately is introduce the process that goes through in Congress to create a constitutional amendment. I will introduce a constitutional amendment to make it clear that the 14th Amendment was not talking about corporations. Get rid of that damn citizen.
Citizens United.
You can't get rid of Citizens United because the Supreme Court's ruled that until you get an amendment getting rid of it. And I think among the people in the United States, you get bipartisan support. And you can do the historical research, but I believe that when it was passed back in the 1860s, the 14th Amendment, probably, right after the Civil War, the intent was for individual people. It was not for corporations. Corporations weren't even a big deal at that time. It was still mostly individual companies.
One of the reasons why I think that Donald Trump won was that he reflected back to folks that the system isn't fundamentally working for people. And he didn't have a plan to address it. He's now smashing and destroying things more and more. But the Democratic Party in this last presidential election said there would be no major departure from the system that folks are struggling under. I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the system, how things are going right now, and specifically as a voter here in Oregon, how you would want things to change.
Well, the problem is, and I live in Tillamook, which is a lot worse than living in Corvallis. I personally think that things are working pretty well for the people of Oregon. For the people of Oregon. And that's where you run into the whole Federalist thing. But that's half your question. And then at the national level, we've really been addressing those issues. So I'm not sure. I mean, obviously, one of the things I think we could do is we could send people to Congress who will pursue our defense of our rights more vigorously than are being defended by some of our representatives there now. The big issue is fascism. The big issue is affordability. The big issue is
people can't buy their groceries. On the coast, the big issue is not access to healthcare.
That's we could go there.
That's a huge problem along the coast.
And I know SNAP is just an aspect of affordability. Well, but insurance is another aspect of affordability. I mean, the fact of the matter is, over the past 8 or 9 years, I would say even the majority of people who opposed Obamacare at the outset have realized it was a pretty good thing.
And they benefited from
it. And they just heard again this morning. Just wait until the first year when those new insurance premiums hit. And I don't know what percentage of people are going to lose their insurance coverage because they can't afford it anymore.
So many.
It's going to be right back.
It's going to be huge.
And we'll be waiting until hell freezes over for an alternative plan.
It's going to be bad.
You're not in the district that Missy's running in. But if you were, would you vote for her and why?
I vote for many of the reasons that we just said. I feel that she would be a more powerful voice and a more powerful action person. It's not just the voice that matters. Although that voice is a pretty loud voice.
Yep, it is.
But I think that she would be willing to take some of the actions which some of the more courageous people in Congress have taken recently. Advising soldiers and sailors that you don't have to, by law, you cannot obey illegal orders. And I think that's an action. That's not just a voice. That's standing up and saying, especially when the reaction is, we're going to shoot you or hang you for saying that, voice becomes an action at that point. So I guess I would say she is a person whose voice will be in action, and there will be other actions when necessary.